latkes, and it's a Buffalo Bills game day. Sunday night football, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, just got to remind you, we are sponsored by Picasso's Pizza. They've been serving up delicious pies in Buffalo for 4 generations now, and everyone knows them for their delicious cup and char pepperoni. Oh my god, I miss it so much. They are open for takeout and delivery, and they deliver nationwide. I've said it before, if you're a displaced Buffalonian like myself, you have no excuses. Now is the time to support local businesses. Please do your part by supporting our good friends at Picasso's. Kevin Masseri is here as always, buddy. How happy were you to see the Dolphins go down?
It's fine. I still thought they had a slew of luck go their way with the interceptions and a couple other things, bounce their way with that legal motion penalty that gave them time at the end, and just so many different things. The team is just a luck ball of luck. Defense plays well. That offense isn't good.
Yeah.
But whatever. They'll backdoor into whatever they need to backdoor into and continue to ride their point differential train.
Yeah, I saw your tweet about that before, so that's why I had to bring that up. Last week, our third wheel was Maniac. This week, we have the one and only Meerkat. He's been bringing you the dart of the day for 92 days now, sporting a pretty good record with it. Buddy, what is the dart of the day giving us today? For people who didn't see it.
The dart is on a bit of a weird one, but it's looking good early. It's on the Eagles plus 8.5 against the Saints today, led by Jalen Hurts, his first career NFL start. He's looking good. The Eagles are up 7-0 early. Wish I would have taken the money line too, but that 8.5 is looking great.
Yeah, no, that is looking good. I said before we started recording, the only thing I liked from that game was the under. So, that's love to see the dart having success. It's one of the best experts in sports betting right now in all of the internet. That's just the facts. I'm not making that up, except for the fact that I kind of am. Before we get into all, previewing the Bills game for tonight, we'll go over the early game action, go over some takeaways for that. We started talking about the Dolphins, and, so maybe we can start there. If anything, this game kind of showed me that they remind me even more of the 2017 Bills than I really even thought. Tua is kind of just like a game-managing quarterback with a little bit more mustard behind his game, I guess. And that defense is just good enough to keep them in games, that maybe they have no business being in. That being said, after the game with the Chiefs today, even though it was close, they found a way to cover it. I don't really see them as a threat in the division. I think that if that game in Week 17 ends up mattering, I feel like, and I don't think it will end up mattering, but I think that that's a game that the Bills, we can kind of count on them to take care of business. Sean McDermott would be able to handle a quarterback like Tua. Kevin, I know you were watching that game more tentatively than I was. What did you learn about the Dolphins today, if anything?
They need just extreme plays to go their way to stay in football games. I mean, they were getting beat bad. I mean, Kansas City dropped into one of those zones that the Bills like to run when they're up multiple scores. It was actually kind of reminiscent of a game where Bills versus Chargers, or Bills versus Arizona, or Bills versus really many of their past couple of games, where they just kind of drop into these zones. They kind of play real nice even. San Fran even would count for this. And Kansas City did that, and they got, Miami made the plays, but to me it just showed that that Miami's offense isn't going to be a playoff offense. Their defense got a couple lucky tipped picks and stayed in this game that way. Mahomes to the tune of 3 interceptions. So to me, they weren't very good. The couple plays they did make kept the game a 1-score game. They had an illegal shift penalty that got them back into a 1-score game because it stopped the clock. It was essentially a free timeout. I just can't watch them and think that they're good. I thought their best game was against San Fran, and that was with Fitz and with San Fran having all their injuries that they had mid-game. So it wasn't even like Mullins got the game plan. He came in right in the game. So you know what? Miami's not a good football team to me. I don't know that they even make the playoffs. I don't know that they beat New England next week. I think Bill Belichick can confuse Tua. Rookie quarterbacks are horrible. They should just play Fitz because at least Fitz gives them a chance. Look at Herbert. I mean, Tua is not better than Herbert today, and he was an absolute mess against Bill Belichick. And with everything against them, you never want to play. I'm glad the Bills don't play the Patriots next week. I'm glad it's a week following because you never want to play them off of that kind of performance. Yeah. Bill Belichick's destined to go 8-8 this year, and it's quite a performance by a coach like him to be able to take this team to 8-8. And I think they get there by beating Miami and New York. It was their final 2 out of 3 games. So that's a game to watch. That's a game that could clinch it for the Bills next week with a win against Denver and a Miami loss in New England. Won't even need the last 2 weeks, but we can get into that on our other editions later on.
Yeah, definitely. Meerkat, obviously, other than the Dolphins, there really wasn't a lot of action that affects the Bills. The Titans stomped the Jaguars, which was, kind of expected. No shock there to me. Did you see anything that impacts the Bills or not from the 1 o'clock games that maybe took you by surprise? Any observations that you're liking from the NFL?
One thing I saw a bit of Brady and the Bucs today. They beat the Vikings 26-14. Not an incredibly impressive win, but it gets them to 8-5. Brady looked solid. I mean, he didn't kill it with the stats, but he was efficient today where he hasn't been this season. Nice to see LaShawn McCoy get a few touches there. But the Titans moving to 9-4. I still think the Titans are the biggest frauds in the AFC by a mile, but they did beat down the Jags. But is that impressive? I don't know. You saw Minshew get back in the game. Mm-hmm. Good for him, I guess, but nothing really crazy. I was a little surprised the Cowboys beat up the Bengals so bad today. I know it's Brandon Allen, and that Bengals team's not good, but I don't know. A little something told me the Bengals are going to get a little fight, but no, they're rolling over with the rest of the season without Burrow. They're waiting for next year. Hopefully get him some help on that offensive line because if he comes back healthy and all right, that team has a ton to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely. I was in a bit of a Twitter argument with someone about, what the best division or most exciting division was in the NFL, and they were arguing for the AFC North. And, if Burrow wasn't hurt, if the rest of the Bengals weren't so bad, and if Lamar Jackson wasn't, regressing to where he is now, they might have a case for the AFC North, but, that's got to be the NFC West. I don't think there's any kind of arguing. Sure, the Cardinals aren't as good as maybe we thought they might be at the beginning of the year. We are very familiar with the Cardinals, unfortunately, on this podcast. We have talked about the Hail Murray nuke fluke, whatever the hell you want to call it, way too much. So we'll finish up with the around the NFL stuff. It makes me sad to think about the Cardinals like that again. We'll move into the keys to the game for the Bills. For me, and we talked about it a lot with Jenna Harner on the crossover show we did with her on Thursday, but the key for this game to me is going to be to actually get the run game going because of the linebacker issues that they're going to be having. They're starting a converted safety at linebacker, actually starting, not playing, starting, due to all the injuries, the COVID diagnoses that come out of Pittsburgh over the past week. So I'm not going to say we should, establish the run play action, Troy Aikman, you have to run well to win in this league. I'm not going to say that. But this is a get-right game for the run game to me. If we can successfully run the football and efficiently run it to complement the passing game, still, I imagine Josh is going to be dropping back a lot this game. But if we can get Zach Moss going, have him on another national stage, show that he's not the running back that he was last week when he had those 2 fumbles, I think that would be huge for the Bills today. Kevin, what are you looking for out of the Bills tonight?
I think I'm looking for them to establish the line of scrimmage. They need to play good up front. It's pretty simple. They're really good up front defensively. Pittsburgh, great front 4. Really, the way that they play linebackers, they really like to have 3 on the field at a time, depending on base packages and if they're in a sub package or not. So I think that you need to establish that line of scrimmage because it's still the strength of their team right now. Is their defensive front, their ability to get after the passer, their ability to strengthen down against an O-line. Their O-line is getting back their center. It's not great. So I think you need to establish on the defensive side too. So those are where you need to win this game. Whether you're throwing in pass protection or whether you're running, like you mentioned, you need to establish that line of scrimmage, and that's where this game is won. Outside of that, they still have some decent defensive backs. The linebacking core is atrocious. It's beat up. You need to beat them in the middle of the field. They're still strong with Minka Fitzpatrick, Steven Nelson. They still have some guys that they like to use. Sutton is a guy that they like to use in the slot. So they're going to have some coverage guys. They're not deep because they're missing Hayden. So we'll see if they have anyone top end to guard Diggs. They should be okay on Davis and Beasley in this game. But I don't know if they have the top end corner to cover Diggs in this game. Not many teams do, but especially not a team missing Joe Hayden. So I think that establishing the line of scrimmage, the run game still isn't great to me because I still do think that they're great in that area. They're able to stop the run and they have really good bodies. I don't think they have the bodies to cover those short middle of the field. If the Bills had a tight end today, would it be an absolute must start in fantasy? It would be an absolute number one option. Dawson Knox, we'll see if he can come through today. Hopefully he can, and we'll see if they activate Tyler Croft today. I don't think Lee Smith did enough to prove that he should be on the roster for active game days. I don't think I think that experiment kind of ended. If they had a tight end that they know what they were doing last week, they wouldn't have been stopped on the 4th and 1 situation. He stopped his route stop his route and sit right there.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Tight end would be a big matchup. They don't have a guy calling their plays. We asked Jenna, and she wasn't sure what that would look like. They're missing their two guys that call those plays, Spillane and Vince Williams. So they're trouble defensively. It's not a good defensive unit, but I do think if we think we're going to come out and run the ball, even though they don't have linebackers, I still think they're strong there because of their ability of gap integrity. So they need to watch out there. I still throw the ball. I don't think they put a lot of pressure on your receivers. And if they have any in-game injuries in the back seven, they're in deep trouble because they're just going to get by in this game.
Yeah, for sure. Meerkat, anything we haven't touched on? Anything you want to emphasize? What's your key for a good Bills win tonight?
Just to build off something Kevin said real quick with, the front four matchups there, that's something I had highlighted too. You look at the Steelers, 44 sacks this year. Yeah, they lose Bud Dupree, a few other guys, but that whole front seven's great at getting to the passer. Avery Williamson's done fine, kind of stepping in as a pass rusher, not as a traditional linebacker. So the Bills' offensive line, we won't see our best offensive line, as they say, our best line this year at all. So we'll see how that holds up today. Keep Josh upright. He hasn't been sacked a ton this year, which is great. But where I'm going to keep my focus today is on Matt Milano. I know AJ Klein, his stock is rising. He's been great the past few weeks. That's awesome. But I want Matt Milano to prove something. I want him to show he deserves a contract here despite the injuries. He eased back off of IR last week, a pretty low snap count. I think he only played about a third of the snaps defensively. So I want to see him have a bigger role today. And it's going to be big because Roethlisberger, with his elite receiving core, still is getting older. Age is catching up to him. He's not taking a ton of shots downfield. Even intermediate range, he's not taking a lot of shots. He's dumping this ball off, crossing across the field, short slants, little outs, 0 to 10 yards upfield. Attacking underneath the safeties and that middle field is something that the Steelers excel at. They have athletes get yards after the catch. So I want to see Milano come in here and show how he dominates that middle of the field in pass coverage as a linebacker. Hopefully he's healthy enough, in game form enough right now, up to speed to keep up with his receivers and make some plays. Try to limit any big yards after the catch.
Yeah, if he is fully healthy and he's playing the full amount of snaps that they want him to, it'll be interesting to see because Tyrell Dodson, I believe, is activated for this game too. So between Tyrell Dodson, Tremaine, Matt Milano, and AJ Klein, it could be really interesting to see how they use these linebackers, especially since AJ Klein, when they've changed how they've used him and they've used him in a better way, and he's been performing exceptionally well, at least for our perceptions of AJ Klein. And it's not apology form worthy, but hats off to AJ Klein. He's been an impact player on the defense the past couple weeks. We'll move in. We talked about Dawson Knox a little bit. We'll be mentioning him here in Cap or No Cap. Basically, did this last week, done it a few times before. Going to go through some player props. I'm basically going to say what I think will happen. If you don't think what I think is going to happen, you call Cap on me. If you think that it will happen, you say No Cap, because that's the rules of the game. So we'll start with Dawson Knox. Bovada has his total receiving yards at 22.5. I think that is a lock for the over. Kevin, cap or no cap, Dawson Knox goes over.
It's hard to pick for Dawson Knox ever.
Yeah, I know.
I need more development. I think he's been good in blocking situations. I think he's been good down in the red zone at times. Josh Allen still does struggles to look his way. He feels that Gabe Davis is a better option, Isaiah McKenzie and others. 22 against a team without linebackers. I'm going to go over. So cap? Is that cap?
That's no cap. No cap.
No. So no cap on that one. So I'm going to go no cap, but I'm not feeling great. But I do think he could end up somewhere in the 30s.
Mm-hmm. Meerkat, what about you?
I think he goes over. I'm calling no cap. I like how Brian Dable looks to get the tight end sometimes up along the sideline, running down the field. Don't do it with fullbacks like last year, but get Knox open. If his hands are there, he's got some butterfingers here and there. If he can get the ball, he can get that in one catch today against the banged-up Steelers linebacker core like Kevin was talking about. I like that.
Yeah, I like it too, as I said. Next one, we're going to go with Josh Allen, passing yards totals. Bovada has the over-under at 275.5. Might be a little bullish here, but I think I like the over on that because it's, primetime Josh last week against not a great defense, but a well-coached defense.
Right.
He put up 400 almost. So I'm going to go over on that. Kevin, it sounds like you are thinking somewhat of the same.
You said 270? What was the number?
275.5.
Yeah, no cap. Yeah, I'm going over on that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much over, but I am feeling good that he hits another 300-yard game, low threes, upper twos, maybe flirts with that number. But like I said, I think the matchup's winning at the line of scrimmage, neutralizing Watt. They have some good pass rushers from their D-line, their three-man front on the D-line, holding that edge. I think they throw for more than we think they do. And even if they're down or they're up or whatever the situation is, I got them, like I said, low threes.
Mm-hmm. Meerkat?
Hate to do it. I'm leaning cap here. I think he might be under that, and I don't think that's because he has a bad game by any means. I just think he might be under a lot of pressure today, and they're going to look to get the ball out pretty quick. And you guys touched on it a bit too. Look to establish the run today. If you can get it going against the Steelers front seven, take advantage of those linebackers. Hopefully they keep it rolling. I think we throw a lot today. I just don't see a ton of deep shots being taken. Steelers safeties are susceptible to it. We're going to see Tremaine's brother, Terrell Edmonds, out there today. Mm-hmm. But something just telling me Josh is going to have a good game, but maybe like a 250, 260 range game, not an absolute stat sheet stuffer.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from there. I think personally it's going to be a shootout, and we'll talk about that. We'll bring up the over/under for the game and this in a little bit. Did want to bring up one of the Steelers wide receivers, kind of a wild card because they do kind of have their big three between Claypool, Johnson, and Juju. Really don't know how they're going to spread them across the field. Don't know who Trey's going to be covering most of the time because they don't really have an alpha guy. I'm worried about covering Chase Claypool personally, especially because, if Trey's going to be on Deontay Johnson or Juju, those seem to be like the better two receivers. So how do we cover Claypool outside of that? If he's on Levi Wallace, that scares me a lot. Over under 43.5 receiving yards for Chase Claypool. I'm going to say over.
I'll go no cap here. I think he goes over. I think he has a chance to, like you said, there's not really a true number one guy out on the field, although I think Trey's focus will probably be shifted towards Deontay Johnson and Juju just for that kind of matchup there. And then Levi Wallace, I know he's been getting roasted on Twitter the past couple of weeks. I'm still a believer, but I like Chase Claypool a lot. I think he gets us maybe in 2 catches. He's a downfield threat. He's a red zone threat. The dude can do it after the catch, too. I'm going over, what was it, 44.5 you said?
43.5, so even better.
43.5. I'm on it.
Yeah. Kevin?
That's going to be Wallace on him.
Mm-hmm.
I over. Like, there's just no way that I can trust that. I like Taron Johnson for Juju Smith-Schuster. And whoever they have against Trey White. I mean, I don't know if Trey will go shadow him if he has to. But maybe they do. Maybe they just say, you know what, Trey, you're shadowing Claypool. We're not going to keep you on one side. You're going to shadow him. We're going to have Juju and Taron Johnson in the slot. In that case, that's an interesting – I think they had a little bit of interest in that if Trey White shadows him there because Juju's in the slot. Will he go and match up specifically against Claypool? Then you might be flirting with that number a little bit, but I'm going to go over thinking they don't, and he sees a lot of Levi Wallace like Brandon Ayuk did against a rookie as well.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm thinking too. Over-under for the game, total points is 48.5. That's a part of my parlay. I took the over. I think Vegas didn't really – maybe they don't take as much stock in injuries and won't let lines move because of that. because of injuries coming out, but because of how bad the linebackers for Pittsburgh are injured, Joe Hayden not being there was some talk of maybe Minka starts playing a little, switches between safety and corner tonight because he has the experience and the versatility to do that. If that's how they try to cover Stephon Diggs, how will that go? I don't really know. I really like the over in this game. I don't trust the Bills to keep Pittsburgh's offense completely in check. I don't think the defensive problems are solved 100%, even though, they're coming off some strong performances. I think Pittsburgh's weapons are good enough to keep it close, good enough to drive the scoring up. I love that over 48.5. Kevin, where do you sit on this?
Yeah, we're going no cap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that this game is 20-17.
No.
There's a path to that. There's a path to that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But even if both teams get going running, I still don't think you get there. Just because you run the ball doesn't mean it's low scoring. You can run the ball well and get to the numbers. I do think that there's going to be scoring. We've seen a lot of back doors in these where the Bills are dropping into zones. I think the Bills can come back if they need to. So that number is low enough that I feel comfortable. But like we said in the pregame show, I don't know how much over, but I'm feeling good about of reaching that number.
Meerkat?
Don't kill me, and I hope your parlay hits because I'm not myself. I'm just been staying away from all NFL over unders. They curse me, but I'd have to lean under here with cap just because of the trends that I'm already thinking are going to happen in this game. Like Kevin said, running can lead the points if you're running well. I just think that this is going to be more of a down-tempo Bills offense, which can there be a down-tempo version of this offense? I don't think so. I just think it's the way the game plays out today leads to this. Not that it's a sloppy or scrappy game. I just don't see either of these teams really getting a ton of big plays, breaking open the top. I see a lot of time of possession, ball control, teams trying to dominate that clock in this one if they get an early lead, because both of these teams are desperate today, and then it spells over, and it is a low number. But just because of the trends, I personally think I'd lean under. But I'm hoping for your over.
That's all I need. I mean, my parlay's not looking hot. I have the Chargers to win. Two teams that choke all the time between them and the Falcons. They're down 7 right now. Fingers crossed it comes through. I'm much more concerned about the game tonight, though. My parlay loses. I don't care if the Bills win. Or I don't care because the Bills are going to hopefully win. I think they're going to win. This is my segue into score predictions in case you couldn't realize it. It's a bad one. I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game. I'm sticking with my prediction, which even as it came out of my mouth during the crossover show with Jenna Harner, it sounded weird to me. But I'm going 37-31. I think that the Bills' offense keeps on the gas. I think the Steelers' offense hangs in there the entire time. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be a great Sunday night game, and the overbettors are going to love it. Bills win 37-31. Kevin?
Yeah, and I mean, I hit it last week. I think I was off by a couple of points in the prediction last.
You were really close. Yeah.
I'm going to stick right with it. I think the Bills will get to 31. I think that's the number I've been on. That's been what I've been after. I'm going 31-23. I think the Bills make a couple stops in the red zone to make them kick field goals. And that's what I've been feeling. I don't think I moved that much from the Jenna pregame show. Mm-hmm. So that's 31-23. I think it's a one-score game. And can they ice the ball in a 4-minute situation running the clock? I think you see that tonight.
Yeah. Meerkat, I feel like your score is going to be lower than the ones that Kevin and I are predicting.
Yeah. But you picked the unders.
I'm still rolling with the under with my score prediction. Like I said, I would love a lot of points personally. I just see this being a scrappy, tough game. I know the Steelers are, 11-1, but then they're also, do they deserve 11-1? People don't like them. I just think this is a great matchup between these teams, and that it's going to be very evenly played, especially with the injuries to Pittsburgh. That's going to help Buffalo out. I think Pittsburgh can take advantage of Buffalo here and there, but it's going to be a tight game. I like the Bills to win and to cover. Bills 24, Steelers 20.
Good teams win, great teams cover. Meerkat, we were saying that before this recording started. Guys, thank you for being here. Obviously, only time will tell for our predictions, but regardless, we all have a Bills win. You guys, everybody watching, you'll see everybody at Trainwreck who submitted their picks. You're going to see who we all have covering. Hint, it's very similar to everybody thinking the Bulls were going to cover yesterday, which they did. Hopefully we see that again tonight. Maniac and I are going to go live around 8 o'clock to talk inactives and give a last-minute look at the game. But until then, go Bills, go Bills, beat the Steelers.